Hello, everybody. Welcome to Happy Sunday. I want to get right into this word. So, if you can just follow me to the book of Esther, chapter 9, verses 1 through 2. All right. So, the scripture reads Now, in the 12th month, that it is the month of Adar, on the 13th day, the time came for king's command and his decree to be executed. On that day, the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them. The opposite occurred, in that the Jews themselves overpowered those who hated them. The Jews gathered together in their cities throughout all the provinces, and the king laid hands on those who sought their harm, and no one could withstand them because fear of them fell upon all people. I would like to share a message with you simply titled today, Catch These Hands, the Tables Have Turned. When I was growing up, my favorite game was Monopoly. I don't know how many of you guys love Monopoly, but if you love Monopoly, go ahead and put that in the comments that you are a Monopoly player. And whenever family gathered together, we were really serious about this game. This game was fun, empowering, and was especially great if all the game pieces were played. So no one really wanted to play one on one. There's no fun in Monopoly like that. But if everybody's playing together, it made the game fun and exciting. Also, in playing this game, I have a truth that I have to disclose to you guys. Although it was my favorite game, it was difficult to play the game from all sides of the board. You had to get up and move your pieces, or, hopefully expect that or ask, can you move me 7 spaces? And that was kind of inconvenient for me. That kind of put a damper on everything unless everybody was real hyped, and didn't mind doing it. But usually what would occur is after rolling the dice, one would have to tell somebody to help them move. But it was oftentimes, people would do it automatically. And so that helped us out a lot, and that was fun. I recognize this now. Now, in thought, I believed it would be great if we didn't have to do this, but it's a simple operation, right, in order to play the game. So I'll move my own piece, or I'll just hope that somebody else move my piece. But I thought maybe can we come up with a concept where the table could just simply just adjust itself so we don't have to do all that work and be bothered, and we could just get on with the game? Well, this brings us to the idea in the 18th century where tables were usually used in social settings to play board games. And in the games that they particularly played was a game of backgammon. Now, I don't know how to play backgammon, but in the century, the game was real popular. And this is where the phrase, the tables have turned, originated from. And it was used when practicing turning the board so that the player would play at the position that was previously that of the competitor. Now, I found that to be very interesting because in our modern day, we wait for others to make the play for us, or to assume that we need to be moved after we roll the dice, or we had to stand up and move on our own. But back in the day, they actually had a game when they played board games where they automatically just twisted the board. That made sense. So that let me know there's nothing new under the sun. Maybe we need to just adapt some old concepts and put it in the new, and maybe we could have some fun. So I came to tell you today that the tables have turned, and I just wanted to give you a little bit background message on that phrase that we often use. Now, if you could follow me to the book of Esther chapter 3. I just want to lay some nuggets on you and give you some background history about this wonderful jewel named Esther. Esther was a Jewish girl who hid her background. Now, she hid her background because at the time they were in Persia, and the Jewish people were just leaving captivity. They were in Midi Persia, and they were under a king's rule there. And so the Jewish people, she was actually petitioning to be queen, and we all know the background history of that. So her background was hidden. Her name was Esther. That was her Babylonian name, but her original name was actually Hebrew. And so she operated under Esther. And sometimes when you enter into places of influence, I want to let somebody know today, you might be in a place where that's unfamiliar. It maybe look like a hostile territory, a place that's unfamiliar. Maybe it's a Babylonian place. Sometimes you have to be slow to let people know who you really are. I'm not saying that you got to be unauthentic or that you got to be fake or phony, but sometimes when you're sent into a place to be influenced, or you're entering into a space where you're going to cause influence, you have to be able to stay hidden for a minute. You have to hide who you are. Sometimes God hides us, and then in his timing, you will be exposed and revealed. We often looked at that word exposed as a bad thing, but when you think of a camera and exposure, there's a time when the camera takes a flick and then it gets developed and then it goes through the process in order to be exposed. So when I want you guys to do is, when you see that word exposure or when you hear exposure, don't always look at it as a bad thing. You can look at exposure as opportunity as well. But in this case, I want you to view exposure as in God has taken you through that process of snapping a picture and then going through the development and then officially being exposed in his timing. We must wait for God's timing. So here we have Esther. She's led to favor, and she's in a leader position because of the favor that she has of the Lord. Now, I'm not just talking about women. Esther is an example. This is for men and women. So sometimes I really want to make that very clear, because I'm speaking to all people. Men and women of God, you have been led to a place and a space where you are to have position. Primarily due to your character and your heart is why God has you in this position, but he's also taking you into a place that's going to be expanded because of your character and your heart. Let me tell you, this thing is so good to me. Now, in Esther chapter 3, we see three crucial people, or three major people in the book of Esther. We have Haman, and then we also have Mordecai, and we have Esther. Haman came from the background to the forefront. So did Mordecai, and so did Esther. So we have three people coming from the background to the forefront. Let me give you a little history about Haman. Haman came to the background to the forefront. He was second in command under the king, and he was enraged when people didn't honor him. Now check out his spirit. Now we have Mordecai, who wouldn't bow to Haman, and Haman did not like Mordecai. Now Mordecai was a Jewish exile, okay? And he not only was a Jewish exile, but he was also a Benjamite. And so that's just a little background history on him. And he and Esther were related. So I'm giving you a little background about Esther, Haman, and Mordecai, so we can really get into what I want to talk to you about these today, and that is dealing with the spirit of Haman. Now, if you look at Jewish tradition, Haman is actually, people are very familiar with Haman, and they actually know the spirit of Haman. And I've come to declare to you on today that sometimes you need to look past people, and you need to recognize that the spirits that you are dealing with are not male or female. Check the spirit. Whenever you're moving into another space, don't look at the people, look at the spirit. Whew. That was for somebody right there. You've been looking at the people and thinking they're your enemy, but God is saying, no, catch it in the spirit. There are people who carry the spirit of Haman, okay? Now, people who carry this spirit are not necessarily after the annihilation of a group of people, but annihilation of the people that they don't like. Now, I'm going to make it real practical to you guys. Sometimes when you're on a job, that supervisor that you under has a spirit of Haman, okay? And the spirit of Haman is so tricky and so cunning that it's not necessary. They might not even have a particular, complaint or any type of ought against you being either a male or female or anything related to your culture or your race, but they might just simply just don't like you because you don't say yes to them. You ain't no yes man. You ain't no yes woman, okay? So they don't like you. You a squeaky wheel. I'll give you a little bit background on that. In working in education, at times, I'm always the person that's up to give a word for everybody that don't want to speak up. That led me to being a union rep, right? So what happens is a lot of the supervisors and upper administration, they always say, oh, Michelle gives us such a hard time because she's a squeaky wheel. Now, what is a squeaky wheel? At first, I kind of got offended. I'm like, oh, they're calling me a squeaky wheel. Are they saying I talk too much? Because I really do, but that's all right. But the thing is this. I said, I don't mind being a squeaky wheel, because if you're a squeaky wheel, that noise, that indication that something is wrong with that wheel allows you to make the repairs to fix whatever you need to do so that wagon or that car, whatever that vehicle is, can get on its way and get to its destination. So if that means I have to be a squeaky wheel and stand up and say something, I'll be the squeaky wheel. We see the same example in the indication of pain, right? Pain is an indication that something is wrong in the body. So there are certain things that we would consider that it might be bad, but actually are being used for good. So there are people that carry this particular spirit of Haman, and this spirit wants you to bow to its control and conform to what they want you to do. They want you to bow and to conform. They don't care about if you make $100,000, if you live in Beverly Hills, if you drive a fancy car, if you're the best singer in the world, if you have the bomb studio, if you're the best preacher, pastor, talker, if you have the most kids, if you live in your best life and you out there just busting it. They actually just want you to do what they want to do. It's a controlling spirit, and they want you to conform. They want you to change everything about you so that they can get a yes from you. Now, whoever does not give in to this spirit is immediately, automatically considered an enemy. And that's what the spirit of Haman does. It says, oh, you don't want to bow to me? You don't want to be down with me? Then I don't rock with you. And how many of us, honestly, we have friends like that says, as long as you rocking with me, as long as you down for me, as long as we rolling together and we doing the same thing, then we cool. We play the same team. But the moment you rise up in your true authenticity and your true self, you're considered an enemy. Now, the spirit of Haman also uses its influence to tear down and not build up. How many of us are connected to people who tear you down and don't build you up just because you simply don't go along with what they say, right? I mean, it's time out for all of that. It's not always a supervisor. All this is, things are sometimes just practical. It's around us. It's in our parents. It's in our cousins. It's in our sisters and our brothers, So it's important for us to be around people who build us up and not tear us down. Also, the spirit of Haman, it wants to be the center and the focus. How many of us have ever been connected to leaders where it's just all about them? It's all about what they want. It's all about the songs they want to sing. It's all about how they want their ministry, which is completely false because it's God's ministry and you have a calling. It's their ministry and what they see in their vision. But what about what God sees? What about what he desires? What about what he wants? Now, we can't always be the center of focus. They always say the makings of a great leader always looks to the people that are around them in order to pull. They take the focus off of them. When they enter a room, they elevate other people. They make other people better. They honor other people. And in turn, God elevates them. The spirit of Haman also sends out decrees against you to your other enemies. Now, I don't want to get into all this narcissistic talk, but that is real. But it's real current right now. But the spirit of Haman will send out decrees against you to your enemies. And what they kind of call that is gaslighting, I believe, where they go on this smear campaign, right? And they go and they tell all your friends and all the people you know that you ain't down with them and why you don't rock with them and roll with them and how you fake and how you phony and all this other stuff. But this is the thing. It's a spirit. Please don't look at the people. Please don't look at the people. It's the spirit of Haman that will send a decree against you to your enemies to defeat you. And then lastly, it's not a clothesline, but it's just simply another guidelines. And I'm pretty sure you could come up with many more ways that you can identify this spirit. But the spirit of Haman is a spirit of bewilderment. And what does bewilderment do? It causes people to be confused and scattered. So whenever you're under leadership or you're around people or you're part of a set where you see people kind of just loosey-goosey and nobody knows what to do and it's just confusion, that's the spirit of Haman, because it brings a spirit of bewilderment. Everybody's hopeless. Nobody knows what to do. And then one thing that I've come to realize being under leadership, when the Bible talks about the oil flowing down the beard of Aaron, the anointing flows, but there are other things that flow down that beard also from leadership. If things flow and trickle down, that's why you have to be careful what leadership you're under, because that leadership can carry the spirit of depression and spew it upon the people, and then that spirit of Haman is now saying, I have all these people bewildered in depression. And you're wondering why. So I'm not saying, hear me very clearly, what I'm not saying that all is just, there's no hope if a pastor or a leader is dealing with certain issues. We all go through issues. But what I'm saying is you have to be careful of that spirit of Haman that causes bewilderment. Some spirits attach themselves to you and they come through the people that you're connected to. And that's what I want you to be cautious of. Come with me a little bit to the book of Esther. We're almost finished. We're just talking. We're just having a good conversation. I want you to put your focus on where Esther is now, because we know about the spirit of Haman. Esther is given authority by the king in chapter number 8 to appoint Mordecai over the house of Haman. Now, Haman then already went through the hanging. They then already went through that where the tables kind of have turned. But this is in chapter 8, we see that Esther goes to the king and the king tells her, what else do you want? And Esther is given the authority by the king to appoint Mordecai over the house of Haman. And one thing I want you to know is that it's something symbolic about when the king gives the signet ring to Esther and to Mordecai. He actually passes them an authority. And what he does is he gives them the signet ring, and then Esther is put in a position of leadership where she's able to decree and declare over Mordecai that you are over the house of Haman. So now he's over what the enemy had, okay? Now that the decree that Haman had is revoked in chapter number 8. And it's, let me peep you to some symbolism of that. Haman's decree was for 70 years, and that was symbolic of the 70 years of bondage that the Jewish people were in Babylon. And so now we have here in chapter 8 where the king asked Esther and Mordecai, what is it that you want? What is it? What else would you like to be done and granted of you? And Esther says, Haman has this decree over the people. He sent out all these letters and decrees to all of our enemies, and now they're opposing us. So when the king gives her this ring, he says, go ahead and make a new decree. And when you make that new decree, whatever you say when you make a decree, it actually goes right into effect. And the only one that can revoke it is the king. And how you have the stamp and seal and approval, the signet ring. So you're going to write a letter. You're going to write a decree. You're going to have a new decree. And it's going to be given. It's going to be sent out. But we're going to have a seal placed upon it so that the king is the only one that can lift this decree. Now, in chapter 9, we actually see, this is where I get excited, y'all, because the title, Catch These Hands, we see it right here in chapter 9. Literally, the Lord has given us permission to lay hands on our enemies. How many of y'all feel like y'all want to throw them bows? I know it's a lot of y'all that kind of struggle with that, right? I kind of struggle with anger. Can we be transparent for a moment? Sometimes I just want to throw some blows. I just want to lay hands on a few people. And I'm not talking about praying hands. I'm talking about the hands where I actually want them to be defeated. And it's okay to be transparent about that. But here we have, let's look at it from a spiritual application. You can catch these hands. The decree was executed and the tables were automatically turned on the exact same day that was originally planned for Haman to execute the Jewish people. The decree was already sent out to the enemies. And on the exact same day that the decree was supposed to be executed, the tables will turn. Can somebody put that in the comments? The tables have turned. The decree has changed and a new one has been given. And the spirit of Haman shall not prevail, but is defeated. Now, because of this decree, all of the enemies feared the Jewish people because they had a newfound authority in the land. And I want to tell somebody on today that God has placed you in a position of influence, whether you consider yourself a leader or not, to be able to execute a thing, to defeat your enemy, to lay hands on your enemy, because the tables have turned and worked in your favor. Why have the tables been turned? Because you love God, because you serve God, because you've prayed and you've fasted, and now God has put you in a position for you to be elevated. Wherever you are in your prospective places, whether it's in the marketplace of schools, of education, the marketplace of music, the marketplace of, well, we would say that was entertainment, the marketplace of political policies or whatever that might be, I'm telling you that God has given you authority and influence in those places. And it is your responsibility as you walk in these spaces and these places to allow your character and your love of God to shine through. Do not be afraid. I'm telling you, God has placed you here for a purpose and a plan. And it will be a time where God is going to snatch off the cover, that he's going to reveal, that he's going to expose you. He's going to take you through everything because he's already taken the picture. You're already gone through the development. Now you're about to be exposed and placed on display for all to see the authority of God, the hand of God, and the love of God. Would you praise God for me? Would you praise God for me and with me? Because God is great. Not because I want accolades, but because I know who I serve. Come on, give God glory right now. Give God glory if you believe that God has given you the power of influence to be able to pull down every stronghold that the enemy has tried to place on your life, whether it's at your job or in your family or amongst your friends. God has given you authority. God has given you favor. You have favor with the King to decree and declare a new thing. Walk in your newness today. Do not be dismayed and do not be tricked by the enemy to think that it's about the people. It's about a spirit. These are spiritual things. And I'm so glad that you tuned in today. I love you, Woe Church, and I can't wait to see you guys back in personal fellowship. Peace.
Wow. I pray that the message that was preached this morning was a blessing to you as much as it was to me. I'm so very grateful again to have all of you watching live with us here at Word of Encouragement Church. Before we close out our service, we want to do two things. One, we want to invite those who are viewing with us live and even those that will watch the replay to know that we want you to contact us. Maybe you don't have a church home and you'd like for Word of Encouragement Church to be your virtual ministry, your virtual church. I know I'd love to be your pastor, and those that are watching live with us would love to be your family of faith. And so we want to invite you to go to our contact page. If you're interested in joining the church or interested in baptism or just having prayer with the pastor, go to WOECC/contact/. And there is our contact page. And let us know who you are. Let us know if you want prayer. Let us know if you want to join the church. And let us know if you'd even just like to consider baptism or whatever it is that you need. Let us know and and contact us. The second thing is that we are so very grateful for all of you that are watching live and all of you that are watching the replay. And one of the things that we have continued to encourage all of us to continue to do in our worship, we worship in song, we worship in prayer, we worship in the word, and we also worship in the giving. Yes, we want to continue worshiping the Lord in our giving. And so this is our time when we invite you to sow your tithes, your offering, and maybe even those that are watching for the very first time, whatever the Lord places on your heart. It's not about the amount, it's about the commitment, it's about the consistency, but it's more importantly about the worship. We still want to honor God with our offering, with our gifts, with our tithes. And so if you go to our giving page, WOECC cc.cc/giving/ there you'll see all the ways to give. Cash App, PayPal, Givelify, all the ways to give are right there for you on our giving page. But it's also in the chat for those that are watching live on Facebook. And if you're watching live on Instagram, if you go to the link in the bio, you'll be taken right to our giving page. But we thank you in advance for continuing to support Word of Encouragement Church ministry and the work that we're doing. Listen, we wouldn't even be able to come to you live in this way if it wasn't for all of you that continue to give and trust God in this season with your giving. We understand that even in times of famine, Isaac sowed his seed and reaped a harvest of 100 times more. And so even in this pandemic, even with all the challenges that all of us are facing and have faced collectively and individually, we still want to trust God in our finances. And we do that by giving. We do that by sowing. And then we also do that by looking and expecting God to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ever imagine, hope for. We still expect God to multiply our seed 30, 60, 100, even 1,000 times more. And so however you're led this morning, we want to invite you to give. And we thank you in advance. And we do pray that God would bless the gift and the giver even in this season. Thank you, and God bless you. Hey everybody, listen, I pray that you've enjoyed our Word of Encouragement, our virtual worship. We're so glad for each and every one of you that has joined us live and those that will watch the replay. Tune in next Sunday for another exciting worship experience with us. We thank God for each and every one of you. We pray blessings upon every household that's watching live and every household that'll watch the replay. And we look forward to see you next week. Have an awesome and amazing week. And may God bless you, and bless you. Take care.